there's Amy Tucker again. What is she going to say? I wanted to go over the coordination process because that seems to be getting a little bit of attention since the Mesa County Compass video came out. And um, so whether you're promoting coordination or you're demoting coordination, local coordination, the word is getting out there. And so that's the most important thing is getting the word out there on what this could be and should be and what the intent was all along. So, but as I, walk through this video, I'm going to attach my link to the American Policy Center article I wrote. It has all of Tom Tiffany's videos that he is expressing his concern that is not happening on coordination. And so definitely watch those. Look up the American Stewards of Liberty and their coordination works. There are other counties, Garfield County, but mostly what I am looking for out of all of this is a congressional directive to the Department of Interior stating that this is what we need to see in the resource management plan. We need to have some sort of measuring metrics where we know exactly how the land management agencies are coordinating, which means equal to. It means harmonizing plans. It means equal to. It doesn't mean subordinate to. And so how the land management agencies are coordinating those plans with the local stakeholders, local collaborators, and the local municipalities, because after all, they're the ones that, take care of infrastructure and property taxes. And, what happens on these federal lands affects all of us in some way or another. And we need to make sure that those local priorities and local strategies are being developed in those management plans. And so that's what I want to see. I want to know how it was collaborated. I want to know how it was coordinated, and I want to see all the cooperating agency documents. So I think that the intent behind FLIPMA needs to get back to where it needs to be. Tom Tiffany understands that where it needs to be. And I think that if there is some sort of process, I think a lot of conflicts can be avoided. And I think that local collaboration with local stakeholders, local user groups, mountain bike clubs and trails and, bird watching, all of these local, and when I say, I got a little flack for saying stay in your lane. But when I think of local collaboration, I think of the local stakeholders driving the bus. So Wilderness Society, Sierra Club, Wildlands Project, all of these other entities that are large multinational entities, you can ride on the bus with us. But at the end of the day, the local collaborators, the local stakeholders need to be driving that bus. And that's where I want to get to and where I want to get back to. I think that this is something that needs to be really looked into by Congress. 22 members of Congress signed a draft executive order back in 2017 to Trump, and it didn't go through, but we've got that draft. We've got Tom Tiffany. We've got all the support letters. I'm excited about what this could be, and I think we should just keep shoving along and making sure that these local stakeholders and these local municipalities are driving the bus, and that we're at the table, and we're not just a chair in the room. You can listen to our comments or not, and we'll put it in the resource management plan or whatever. That's not what this is. Our public lands are our public lands, and we need to be on a level playing field and make sure that our local strategies are being taken care of. This needs to happen across the West. And I just think that it should just be elevated. So whether you're for coordination or not for coordination, thank you for elevating that voice of coordination. But so I'm going to attach that. I'm going to attach Tom Tiffany video to at the end of this and some other commentary. But in the meantime, I just wanted everybody to look at one of my favorite places in the West End. I love it. I hunt there. It's quiet. It's creepy. There's mountain lions everywhere, and it was a very, very sacred place. And I find a lot of peace there, and I think a lot of people in the West End do also. And so I just want everybody to kind of take that into consideration when we talk about land designations. What are these special places to us, and what do we want to see happen to them? Or, you know, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. But I think the local collaboration and being involved in those resource management plans will make sure that we're elevating the areas that we want elevated, that we're protecting the areas that we want protected, for the things that we want to do. And so I just want you all to keep an open mind. And I want you to all just keep doing your homework and reading and listening. But American Stewards, Tom Tiffany, I mean, there's so many resources, and I'll have that at the end of the video of Tom Tiffany. I'll have all my references. I'd love to talk about it. Margaret Byfield, I'd love to pick your brain. And I think we could really do some good work. But in the meantime, let's all just get to the table and talk about it. Let's talk about the collaboration process, coordination, cooperation. All right. Have a good evening, folks.
Gentlelady yields. So the issue of, Director Stone Manning, the issue of FLPMA has come up a couple times. Mm-hmm. And you're familiar with the coordination requirement in FLPMA, right? Mm-hmm. You know how it's much different than, we hear the terms collaborate, things like that. Coordination is much different, isn't it?
Our cooperating agencies help make our work better.
But coordination, that term, is clearly defined and is much different than like just cooperating or collaborating. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I don't think I know where you're going with this question.
Well, I'd go in this direction. So we heard from the gentleman from Guam how his constituents were not heard, that they were not included in the process. He expressed concern, and he was very mild about it and respectful, but it was clear he was saying that on the issue he had in the Mariana Islands, that they were not being heard. We heard from the gentleman from Utah, not a single hearing in regards to Bears Ears, is that correct?
Congressman, regarding the gentleman from Guam, we don't manage lands on Guam. Regarding the gentleman from Utah, we held public meetings all over the West in capital cities that were easy to get to. We also held meetings online, virtually, so that people can participate from their homes.
Did you coordinate with the local municipalities?
Congressman, we work very closely with the state of Utah.
You coordinated, treated them as an equal at the table when you were doing the process. Is that what you're saying? Because coordination is a very specific item within FLPMA that you must sit down and work with local governments, local and state governments, as equals. Did you treat them as equals?
On the Bears, I think he was referring to the Bears Ears plan and the Grand Staircase plan, and we do work with local entities to take their concerns into consideration. On the public lands rule itself, we did that work with easily 100 staffers at the Bureau whose job it is to implement and manage on the ground.
Did you fully coordinate with the governing entities in Utah, including local governments?
On the public lands rule, no, we did not. They did have a chance between draft and final, however, during a 90-day public period.
Thank you for letting us know that you did not coordinate because it is a different process than simply a hearing. I'm going to go to some testimony from Secretary Holland from a couple of weeks ago, and it had to do with the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, their regulation. Didn't the tribes up there ask for an extension on the provision that you folks put in place? Didn't they ask for an extension, and weren't they denied?
Congressman, we granted 2 extensions in the public comment period for the NPRA rule.
So the tribes are lying to us, saying that they did not get the extension, because that's what they told us. They did not get an extension in a hearing here before the Natural Resources Committee.
Congressman, I can't speak for the tribes. What I can tell you is we extended the public comment period twice.
So a BLM employee said, I wish we could give an extension. In other contexts, we might have that kind of time, but I'm happy to regale you with the ins and outs of the Congressional Review Act. But unfortunately, we're on a schedule with this one that we don't have any control over. So we just don't have that kind of time for this rule as a result of denying the extension. Did you instruct your employee to say that?
Congressman, I did not instruct that colleague to say that. I can tell you that we met.
Is that employee still working for the Bureau of Land Management after making a statement like that?
Congressman, she doesn't work for the Bureau.
Did you issue any sort of directive in regards to this, whether it's formal or informal, to say that we're going to get you around the Congressional Review Act by doing this in such a manner? Did you issue any directives?
Congressman, we worked very hard on this rule and many others, and the timing is what the timing was. We've worked for the last 2.5 or 3 years on these rules, and here we are. And as you know, I don't know what the deadline is for the Congressional Review Act because it moves every year, right?
By the way, I was just handed a note. The tribe asked for 90 days. They got 30. So we hear all this happy talk from the administration, and we heard it from you today also, in regards to we are so serious about working with the tribal interests around the country. We believe in nation-to-nation collaboration and things like that. But you didn't do that in Alaska. You didn't take into account their requests. Does this administration only work with the tribes when it serves your interests and not necessarily the tribe's interests?
Congressman, I am so proud to work under the historic leadership of Secretary Holland. We engage with tribes at the department like we never have in our history. By my count, we met with folks on the North Slope 17 times. Then we had 3 public meetings on top of that. And so we listened very hard to what they say, and the final rule that we promulgated recently incorporates in part what we heard from them.
And you would not give them the extension that they wished for. A tribal interest in Alaska asked for a 90-day extension, and you did not, the Bureau of Land Management did not give that to them. Isn't that correct?
What we were able to do is continue in government-to-government tribal consultation, which is not dictated by a public comment period. So the public comment period shut down, but the government-to-government consultation continued.
You have a long history of anti-natural resource utilization in this country, both private and in public. It certainly appears that that you are continuing that in your role as the director at the Bureau of Land Management. And it's terribly unfortunate for the American people that we continue to see these types of actions that are leading to what is harming the American people at this point with inflation, higher energy prices, the denial of energy projects, and the anti-natural resources utilization mentality that exists with this administration. We see it all over the country. Americans see it all over the country. And you can deny it if you wish to, but that's not the case.
Congressman, what I am proud of is that 10,000 people who work for the BLM that I have the honor of overseeing created $232 billion in economic output last year. It's remarkable work.
And those 10,000 people are harming 300 million in the United States of America. I'd like to thank both the witnesses for your testimony and members for your questions. Members of the subcommittee may have some additional questions for our witnesses today, and we will ask that the witnesses respond to those in writing. Under Committee Rule 3, members of the subcommittee must submit questions to the subcommittee clerk by 5 p.m. on Monday, May 20th, 2024. The hearing record will be held open for 10 business days for those responses. If there is no further business, without objection, the Subcommittee on Federal Lands stands adjourned.
Yes, we received numerous comments
Okay,
from the states as
not-
part of the rulemaking
Not comments,
process.
not comments. You are required to coordinate with states and local governments. The establishment of rank equal, not subordinate. Did you sit down at the table with them and say, we are looking at, the president has directed us to rewrite the 10-day notice rule. Will you help us do that? Did you have that discussion with those states like Wyoming?
What I can tell you, Congressman, is that the process we followed is the one that's laid out in the Administrative Procedure Act to engage in rulemaking, and that's what we did, which included reviewing numerous comments by states as well as other stakeholders.
Yeah, this is not coordination or consultation in any way, shape, or form, Mr. Chairman. And we've been hearing this for a couple weeks now from the administration officials that have been coming forward. Yeah, we heard comments and things like that. That's not how it works. It is when these environmental laws, the fundamental environmental laws that were put in place back in the early 1970s, when they were put in place, lawmakers here made it very clear, you must sit down and treat these local and state units of government as equals so that they would have a say. Legislators, congressional members of the time, they knew the federal government could be overarching, and that is exactly what we're hearing today. They decided to do this because states have told us, Ms. Pacino, that they were not given a voice at the table. They have told us that.